Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot, and welcome to today's reading where we're going to take a look at really kind of what is driving your person's behaviors in the next few days. I think the time frame we're looking at is probably about the next week. I say about because it's not going to be exact, but it's going to be basically about that time frame of the next week. So, what is it that's driving those behaviors, and from that, kind of what can you expect? So it'll be a general reading for this collective, as always. Won't resonate with everybody, shouldn't resonate with everybody, but if it does resonate with you, then by all means check out some of the other videos. They're all very much connected. You may want to subscribe. This one is going to be a split reading, so I'm going to split the collective into two groups, and we're going to go with the in contact versus the not in contact for the purposes of this one. I'm going to use this as my primary deck. This will be my in contact deck, and this will be my not in contact deck. So we're going to start here with the folks who are in contact today. And really, like I said, the question is what's driving their behaviors? What is it that's kind of behind what's providing the oomph for the behaviors that you may be seeing, or the evidence of things that you may be seeing? And, also keep in mind, you may not actually be seeing all of it. It may be more a matter of you seeing the results of it, or in some cases even just kind of feeling the results of it. So it kind of depends on the situation, just as to what kind of communication we're talking about. So some of you will be seeing lives that are a little bit more closely knit than others. So we're going to start by looking at the energy that flows between the two of you, but also bringing in how that energetic backdrop kind of fits in. So that's the energy that you're swimming in. But it's kind of it's a specific look how it pertains to you. So let's see here. The first thing we have here is the Ace of Swords. Somebody's not listening to the truth. Somebody's not getting in, and they're doing the best they can to kind of maybe avoid a truth, to be perfectly honest. We've got the Ten of Swords in the reverse. Somebody's just wanting to feel better, it's like trying to, this has that feeling of trying to stay in asleep in a dream when you know you're having a great dream. It's that kind of Ten of Swords in the reverse. There's a pain they don't want to go back to because they have the ability to escape that for a little while, and they'd like to maintain it, but they have about as much control over it as going back to sleep to get into a dream again. With the Knight of Wands here in the reverse, this is the kind of in and out behavior that you may be seeing, in and out behavior from this person, or even if it's not really coming into your life, going out of your life sort of behavior. And for many of you, I get that it is, but in some cases, some of you, like, they're in your life, but you feel them emotionally coming and going. And so that's really what we feel with this Knight of Wands here. It's a little bit of it really does kind of have that breadcrumbing sort of in and out, sort of not keeping you very much at arm's length, but also unwilling to let go. And there is some degree of almost turning the other way rather than have to acknowledge something that they should know. Okay, with the Weaver of Boons here, this is a really stable feeling that they get from you. So there is kind of a stable underlying feeling inviting you guys both to be a part of it. And I feel like you may be feeling that pull to go to that stable feeling, and there may feel like there's something in the way. And what's in the way is some of the difficulty from what they're experiencing. But this is something that you guys are going to get past, and you are going to be able to get over it. So with the Lover's card here, this is talking about your bond and what you're experiencing here. Definitely some of the challenges around this bond. And challenges that are fairly unique to this bond, in that this sort of thing might be barely noticeable in some of your other types of soulmate situations, but also the benefits of going through this will not be as great. You have the Seven of Spells. This is about confidence. This reminds me a little bit of this. The Weaver of the Boons here has a lot of, that's Pentacles. Spells is Well, okay, so boons is what similar to pentacles, it's earth. Spells is fire, like wands. And so this is like a seven of wands, and it talks about confidence, but it talks about like this innate confidence that's built into the energy that's around you. So very positive energy, inviting you to become a part of it. There's a lot of fear still on your person's side, trying to go back to sleep to get back into some kind of dream, or trying to go back into some place they can't quite go to, and that's why there's so much frustration there, but it's because they're trying to stay away from something that's painful. So we have the child of challenges. Child of challenges is kind of basically the inability to get back into that dream. It's also a willingness to try something new, so there's something about that in the energy as well. If there's an opportunity that's in front of either of you, this might be a time where you start to see that, and you may even start to feel the impetus to move that direction. We know it's in the energy surrounding the new moon. We know you're going to kind of be pushed that direction, but this is it actually starting to happen. With the Seeker of Boons here, this is a slowly but surely, almost inevitable sort of energy that happens. It's kind of very background. I mean, it's got a background sort of feeling that kind of goes along with it, but it also has, I don't know, it's got an element of more of that certainty that we feel from that queen, from the seven of spells, the confidence. There's a lot of certainty and positivity coming in with this. All right, but we've got the forge in the reverse. Okay, so the forge is like kind of what turns you into what you are. It's also it's the temperance card in the traditional tarot. So it is a balance that takes a long time to accomplish. It is a particularly challenging sort of balance that is it's the kind that allows you to not have to look down because you're not worried about what's happening in that direction. It's the kind that really gives you this sort of confidence. But this is great confident energy, okay? So you're in contact with this person that's like the water is warm, and it's like, come on in, the water's fine. They are able to reach out and feel a little bit more confident about getting connected with you in this energy, and you might be a little bit more confident even about receiving them. So we have the Ten of Boons in the reverse, though. One of the things that comes in to kind of challenge this energy, or to make things a little bit more challenging in this energy, is the fact that there's life changing in this. So there's something shifting in just kind of your basic premise, your basic experience. So it could be that a circumstance has changed, a job has changed. It's not always going to be in the job realm. But it's something in the way of life that has changed, or there's an energy of change around it. So, like I said, may not be jobs, may be something that you were under pressure for a long time and you no longer are, and now you're kind of decompressing and regulating. There's all kinds of potential in this energy that I'm noticing. Um, let's get into the part about what's driving them. So we see the energy that's behind the behaviors that you see, and there's a lot of that kind of in and out, but they've also got a lot of really nice supportive energy that comes in here. Let's see kind of what else is happening, because I think what we're seeing here is the intersection between here's the energy that's out there and here's what they're bringing to the situation. Okay, so we've got the Seven of Cups here. This is a lot of kind of not knowing what to do and standing there at a crossroads that has a whole bunch of roads going off of it, and just kind of spinning and being uncertain about what that next step's going to look like. And really, honestly, being quite uncertain about what that step's going to look like. But with the rest of this energy, with the Fool here, knowing that you're going to take that step. This is definitely the energy of taking that step. This is once you've talked yourself into, let's say you're going to go skydive, once you've talked yourself into going to go skydive, this is that feeling of, well, I'm definitely going to step out of the plane. I'm definitely going to do it. So there's a sense of them definitely kind of moving in that direction, but having almost no idea how to navigate because they don't feel like they can see it. And so there's this kind of feeling of conflict that builds up, because with the Ace of Pentacles in the reverse, that's very strong, not being able to see it energy and wanting to chicken out at the last minute. But I think most of the chickening out at the last minute is coming from this Ace of Swords in the reverse over here, because it's like when the truth comes to them, and this is more in your person's kind of realm, especially as we get into this, but and when the truth comes to them, they're unprepared to manage it, because they have been kind of trying not to, they've been compartmentalizing to the point where, like with this, they've been compartmentalizing so they don't have to deal with it. But like they're going off that cliff. They know that, and to some degree they kind of have to deal with it, but they are not in a place where they feel like they can. So they're being cornered. They're like in the process of being cornered, feeling like things are coming at them and they're standing there trying to figure out what they're going to do next. Okay, it's just those guys. All right, so we have the Five of Spells and the White Heart. The White Heart is the same as the Fool, and it's got that same energy. It's definitely moving forward, definitely doing something. It is something new, but it could be something that's not completely new, and it's really like it's the same old concept, but with a new twist. So be prepared for that. With the Five of Spells, though, it's like they do not pick the most efficient path forward to get into this. There's a sense of struggle where there doesn't need to be struggle, I guess. That's what I feel like there. Not struggle for the sake of it, but struggle because they don't plan well enough. But it's like it doesn't need to be a struggle. It's something that people often do think of when they plan. I feel like there will be a little bit of regret, a little bit of feeling silly around that, and that may not, that may add to some awkwardness. With the Six of Spells, okay, so Six of Spells in the reverse, this is that fire energy once again. So this is like Six of Wands in the reverse. This is feeling like an endurance race for your person at this point. This whole thing, all of this in and out, every time they make a change in direction, it takes some energy from them. And at this point, they feel like they're in a little bit of an endurance race. And this is part of why they kind of, it's like a person who hasn't slept. And even though they can maybe get up and do things, they have a harder time discerning what the best path is to navigate. And so we see a lot of that up here with that Seven of Cups in the reverse, especially, but it almost feels literal, like not having an idea which path to navigate, but I'm not sure how that would play in. We've got the Strength card here in the reverse, I'm sorry, the Starlight card here in the reverse, but I feel a little bit of the Strength card in reverse too, so maybe I was just kind of projecting that. The Starlight card in the reverse is about, it's about things taking too long again, but there's a sense of inevitability, and there's not really any getting away from that because of what we feel like with the Lovers card over here. But there is this feeling of it taking so long, that so much endurance being required, and it's still kind of going, and there's inefficient usage of energy. It's just very frustrating and very much like getting overwhelmed with how much energy it takes just to work through some things. It doesn't seem like it should require that much energy. So that's an interesting way to look at this. Doesn't feel like it should require that much energy. And whereas I don't disagree, I feel like there's a lot of attention paid to this. So we've got the Ten of Visions. The Ten of Visions talks about, once again, not knowing what to do when they find what they're looking for. So the Ten of Visions is something that feels like it's kind of too good to be true. And well, when you get to something that's too good to be true, how do you move forward? Do you examine it? Do you keep observing? Do you run away from it? This person has done some running away. They've done some running away. They've been running into themselves, or kind of, going into themselves. With the Four of Challenges here, this is healing that hasn't been done. So healing that hasn't been done is part of what's driving the in and out behavior that you're seeing, the inconsistent behavior where you can kind of feel them coming closer to you on some days, and then the next time you see them, they feel very cold, This is very much a 2 steps forward, sometimes 3 steps back. Ultimately, there is forward movement, but it is halting and difficult to see at times. This is one of those times, and yet you may be feeling like this sense of almost inevitable movement, and not, It's like you've gone without for longer, or you've gone without more for longer. I think that's what it is. You've gone without more for longer, and it hasn't impacted you the way that it is currently impacting you. And it is because it's like the energy sort of teasing you, like it just doesn't go away. You've got the Five of Moons here in the reverse. This allows you to see how far you've come, but it also allows you to see how far you haven't come in your healing. So when you're looking at that fear of rejection, that fear of abandonment, the fear of betrayal, you've made some progress in that. And now you get to see how much progress you've made, but you also, in that, get to see how much progress you haven't yet made. And that's what we see with that Five of Moons. That's happening for your person as well. And there's a little bit of them that kind of identifies as not even being on this journey. And so for them to see their progress so clearly is uncomfortable for some of these folks. We have the Weaver of Visions, but in reverse. This is it feels like a form of sadness, but really it's like it's a form of being triggered, and it's based upon a trauma that happened very early on, or maybe a trauma that happened even to somebody else. It's like they had a, and I'm going real extreme here, but like they had a parent who was starving as a child and had a particularly strong response in the way that they raised them. And now here's somebody who has this fear that jumps out that wasn't necessarily something that it happened to them, but it is something that they were taught very much to fear. So it's triggering, and it's triggering fears, but it's not even triggering fears that are particularly articulate within them, because it's not even necessarily their fear. Ace of Challenges, once again, we see that same energy as the Ace of Swords in reverse. That's air energy. Ace in the reverse, not being true to yourself, not being true with yourself. There may be something that needs to be admitted, or needs to be kind of get a little bit closer to it. But in this energy, that is not inclined to happen. There's something here that just has a lot of compartmentalization. And I get, again, that sense of this is an endurance feeling. I'm tired. I don't have what it takes at this point. Yeah. Here's that Hermit. So it isn't necessarily I'm going to stop working. It's more a sense of I need to back off for a while. I don't know how long a while is, but here's the thing. I don't feel like they do either with that Seven of Cups up there. The Hermit card here is showing that there's definitely a need for a little bit of time to themselves, even if you're living in the same house. They may just need a little time to themselves. Maybe they even go stay in a hotel for a couple days, get their act together, and just kind of think things through, but be alone. There's a need for them to be alone rather than to surround themselves with something that distracts them. We have the Green Mother here in the reverse, though. This is like you're not ready yet for something that is in the next step. And by you, I mean they. They're not ready yet for something that happens in a next step for them, but that they kind of don't feel they haven't actually fulfilled the prerequisites, regardless of whether they feel they have or they haven't. But this is not a person who, even despite this confidence that's kind of in that energetic backdrop, this is not a person who's necessarily feeling a ton of confidence right now. Remember, this is a person who's trying to bow out of reality a little bit, looking to try and maybe get back to sleep, get back to that dream, not being totally honest with themselves. We see that throughout. I want to get a little bit farther into what you can expect to have to see from this person. So we see what's driving it, but when we get into the extended, we'll get in a little bit more to, okay, so what do we expect to happen as a result of these drivers? And that's what we'll get into when we get to that. For now, let's take a look at you, as we always do. Let's take a look at what makes the most sense for you to focus on, given what else we see on this table. And so, again, these are people who are in contact, but many of you may feel inclined to watch both. Sometimes it's difficult to determine whether you're in contact or not in contact. And a lot of times, since we're in the same collective, you may find things that resonate in both. So, feel free to watch both. And I try to keep it somewhat reasonable as far as the length, so that you have time for that. So we've got the Three of Cups coming out here in the reverse. As you're focusing, one of the things that you need to do is like something, this thing that has changed, this Ten of Boons, this thing that has changed in your respective lives. I feel like there's something that shifted, or maybe I mentioned earlier, like some pressure that's been on for a long time that has just recently come off, and now you're working to adjust. This feels like that adjustment. This feels like working through that adjustment with the Three of Cups in the reverse. It does require taking a little bit of time to yourself, but it may not be very much time, and it may just kind of be planning time. It's not like you're downtrodden and in a bad place. In fact, you're feeling pretty balanced in this. And the reason this Five of Cups comes up, it's like this Five of Cups comes from within you. This is a balance, being able to take the good with the bad instead of just being focused on what's, the shame, the things you're not satisfied with. You're also able to see those cups of opportunity behind you. There's a very balanced feeling with this Five of Cups. But the advice that comes with it is utilize this strength that comes from inside you, along with this invitation to really, I guess, have a supported, enjoyable time. This is a feeling of confidence that is gifted to you in addition to any confidence that you may already possess. And so it's kind of an encouragement to go that route. And oh man, yes, we got that Five of Pentacles here in the reverse. So you've got Three of Cups in the reverse, which means it's time to pay attention. Five of Cups in the reverse, you're in a great mental space to do so. Five of Pentacles in the reverse, just like your person over here who's going to see some changes within themselves and be able to see the edges of those changes, so are you. And so this is actually really nice and really positive, because as you see it, you'll have a little bit more balanced of a view as you're taking a look at it, which is, I guess, the only issue that I see over here with your person, is that they may have some nice progress, but they are unlikely to register it as such. So here's that Strength card in the reverse. This is like you may be surprised by something that catches you off guard, almost like, well, I mean, I guess that's by definition, but what catches you off guard is like an anxiety that arises that you think, wow, I thought I was past that, or I didn't think I was as immune to that type of anxiety. I thought I was more comfortable in those types of spaces, whatever it is. There's something that's going to kind of come out and surprise you. But again, just like you have often lately, I feel like you make short work of it. It's not something where you're going to spend a lot of time in a bad place. However, you don't solve the whole problem. With the Suspension card in the reverse here, you don't end up solving the whole problem. So you too are going to have to go into your hermit cave to go develop a path to wisdom, because this isn't a path that is already laid. That's why you have to develop it. But you've got the greatest energy for that. With the Child of Spells, this is like a curiosity sort of, you have this energy. It almost feels like springtime. You have this energy of being willing to try something new because you know there's no rush and there's no real time frame like by which you have to get a certain thing figured out. Like for sure you want things to stop hurting sooner and to start feeling like more fun, but you're also in a better position to attract more of the fun this way. With the Child of Boons, love this card. As soon as it pops up, one of the first things I realized was this is lessons coming home to roost for you. So you have a lot of this is why it's so useful here with the Five of Pentacles and the Five of Cups, both in the reverse, because this is lessons coming home to roost, but your head is in the right place, partially because of the rest of this energy. And with this Nine of Boons, this is fantastic. This is exactly the sort of thing that I'm talking about. This is it's that same confidence. So you've got basically the Queen of Boons, or the Queen of Earth. You have the Nine of Earth, which is confidence. It's a emotional stability, but it's like an emotional independence as well. So this is in your energy. And the advice that you just keep getting, like with every card, is use it, use it, use it. You may not have all of the information that you need. Won't have all those perspectives that you'll need to understand everything, but you will have enough information to make it through what you need to be able to do in this situation. And here we have Keeper of Challenges. So not only will you have enough information, but this is you knowing what to do with it. That's like the King of Swords. And so it's a very logical card, but it's also a card of being able to put things into perspective for yourself, even when you lack a little bit of perspective or you lack a certain perspective. With the Weaver of Spells in the reverse, what this tells me is it's a little bit quieter of a time. So it's a gentle time for you and your soul, but it's a little bit quieter of a time from a passion perspective. Not that you wouldn't miss it, just that it's also very wonderful. I think you're going to enjoy this. Ace of Boons has that definite feeling of confidence, but also of comfort. There's a feeling of comfort in this and feeling like you're going in the right direction. That same sense of inevitability that we felt earlier, but it's got a warmth attached to it. The way that you and your person are moving toward balance, and this Six of Boons really does mean balance, but the way that you and your person are moving toward that balance is it gives you a sense of warmth, even in those moments when you feel like things aren't going great with them because you're getting the out part of the in and out. There's still this sense of inevitability in the fact that, I wish you would straighten up and act right because I know where this is ultimately headed. And ultimately, we're going to treat each other in a way that is more energetically balanced. That's kind of in the energy, and it's part of what allows you guys to work forward in the ways that you do. And there is steady progress forward here, but you don't always see that evident in the behaviors with your person. And so this has kind of given us some idea of maybe some advantages that both of you have behind you with that Pentacles and that confidence energy, but some of the things that are bringing them down. And here's kind of what's driving some of that behavior. So they're going to take that step into something new, but they're still very much not paying or not telling the truth to themselves and not utilizing their greatest strengths. So they're kind of doing things the hard way, don't necessarily know which road to take. And they're not ready in certain ways to get beyond some wisdom that they absolutely need to stop by the wayside and gather. So we're going to look in when we get into the extended to see a little bit more of like what the impact of that is going to be and what you can expect to see in those behaviors. So that's what we'll do when we get to that. And as I like to do when we have when we have the two piles, I'll just go ahead and set this off to the side, and we'll go ahead and launch right into the second pile while we've got you on here. I do want to shuffle up this deck a little bit though, because I intend to use the same deck, and I want to make sure I get the energy that has already come out. I mean, you guys are part of the same collective, but I still think I just want to disperse it. And it's just a nice little reset. So we'll give it a couple of shuffles in addition to this, and then we'll go ahead and get started doing the same one on the other side. And the thing is that you can watch both. You may even resonate with both, because some of you will find that you live in a gray area between whatever the ways are that I split the collective. And in this case, it's contact versus no contact. But you could be in low contact and be like, well, I'm not sure how this feels. And if you're in that gray area, feel free to watch both. But here we'll go ahead and get started with the other side. So we're going to look at the folks who are not in any form of contact. And the first thing we'll do, just like the other one, is we'll take a look at the energy that's flowing between you, but in particular, the energy that's kind of impacting you from that energetic backdrop. So, as I said, that energy that you're swimming around in. So this is already kind of gets a start on what is driving the behaviors, but this is much more, it's less personal. It's a little bit more general. It's impacting the two of you, or it's impacting more than the two of you. So we've got the Five of Swords here. This is an energy of consternation, not being able to calm down, even when things do start to have an opportunity to calm down, just not being able to get their mind to stop. This feels like them, but that could be in the energy. We've got the Devil. So feeling like now that, okay, so little bit of a difference here between what happened in the reading with the folks who were in contact. This is feeling a little bit of out of control because all of a sudden there's a tiny bit of time to think. And I don't know that this exactly translates into time to think, but there's a redirection of behavior or redirection of energy such that it feels a little bit like some of you will take that moment, That is going to serve to reset some of you and kind of make things a little bit easier. But for some, it's actually a little bit more challenging because there's like a breakthrough. Here's a person who's had a little bit more, I guess, time alone with that no contact. And so they might not be alone. They may have third parties surrounding them. They may have all sorts of other things going on, but they've got this feeling of being without you in the 3D, in the physical realm. So even if they've got connectivity with you in the spiritual realm that they are aware of, because you all have it, but whether you're very aware, whether they are very aware of it, they've been feeling disconnected from you in the 3D. And this is a sense of some sort of like some responsibility fell off their plate or something happened, and now all of a sudden they have time to worry about this again. Right at the same time that they've learned something new. So we know that there's been lesson learning going on both sides, but your person has learned something new that has unlocked things for them a little bit. It's very positive, but it's not necessarily going to make things any easier for them. So it may cause them to stay quiet. That's kind of the impact that it's had on them thus far. So yeah, we've got the 8 of Swords of them overthinking. We have the 3 of Wands. Okay, let's think about that. All right, so with the 3 of Wands, sense of inevitability, sense of already having set things into motion, but them knowing about this, that's why it seems inevitable. With the Wheel of Fortune, it's like things are actually shifting and changing, and there's something in this energy that makes them that's why things feel so frantic and different here lately, is because they are having a harder time getting out from under these emotions that they would ordinarily be able to sweep under the rug with a little bit more ease than that. They're still missing out on something that they need, as far as something that they need to feel better about the situation. At this point, they're still feeling kind of frustrated. They're feeling a little bit like they're out of control and they don't have what they need. There's a lot of overthinking here, a lot of thinking back to something that is honestly a misunderstanding, and doing so with dread. Like it's this sense of dread, but it's a sense of dread that not only does it seem like they have a regret, but they're shameful. There's something about this that they feel like is their fault and that should have been different and that they should have done something different. So we've seen this come up a couple of times in some of the readings where they have something they're very ashamed of and they don't want to tell you about it. But what's interesting about it is that oftentimes if it were to come up, you would already be aware of it, or you would already be aware of it like you wouldn't be surprised. There's a sense of you not really being able to be surprised by this information, because it seems like the sort of thing that if you didn't expect this, then you expected something similar. And it's like they had a conversation that they were in where they either didn't, I don't feel like, I think it feels like it goes beyond not supporting you and goes all the way to said something bad or trashed you, or I don't know if they out and out trashed you. I think they didn't jump in on your side and knew at the time that they weren't doing it. It kind of has that feel to it. And they're very haunted by this. And it's like it's coming out here again with this 5 of Cups. With the 9 of Pentacles, they can't find that strength that sometimes comes from the union between you. They can't seem to find it, to access it. They feel like that strength comes from you. So they feel abandoned by you right now in this energy. That's part of the misunderstanding. So part of it is, even though they are not accepting of communication and contact, they are kind of not seeing it that way completely in their own mind, but it's coming into view. With the Devil in reverse, there are certain things that they have been that's not part of it. There are certain things that they have been working on, and certain things that they have figured out that are going to cause all of this to feel a little bit strange, because it's not going to be consistent. All of a sudden, there's going to be something about the story that doesn't work for them, because they're making that adjustment to their values that we've talked about in the past. This is an adjustment to their values that they've been looking to make since before you came along, before they manifested you. But the basic idea is there's something in there that has come along either through their ancestors, or it has happened. It's their own ancient pain that happened early in their lives that has caused them. I feel like it's more values they were raised with that they don't agree with, and they've been looking to break free of those, but they were breaking free of them in a little bit safer of a way at the time that you came along. Um, and then you came in and kind of triggered them to a more tragic sort of break with those values. They've still got some progress to make on that, but they're starting to make the progress. And so at some point, they make part of the progress, don't have the full perspective figured out. That's what we see here with this Hanged Man and this Devil card. And it is very much in conflict with the issues that they very much still have, which we see with the Devil in the upright. So this is a long, it's a lot of conflict. You know, in the other reading, the first one, if you watch that one also, there was that sense of trying to go back to sleep to get back into a dream, trying to avoid reality. I don't necessarily get that this is your person's approach in the no contact situation. I think they're kind of laying low, but not feeling very strong about things. They're starting to notice that something is up, though, and we see change. But they're starting to notice that something is up and that things don't necessarily add up. And this is a person who doesn't necessarily do very well with that. They do like their logic to a certain degree, certainly in certain places. And this is a place where they've looked at it and they can't unsee it. So let's look a little bit more into what it is that drives their behaviors. And we've already got a little bit of a look into that, just seeing the weather, you know, the energetic weather, the energy that is in the backdrop, you know. So we've got the Ace of Pentacles in the reverse here, seeing that one again. That one showed up earlier. Hierophant in the reverse. Oops, sorry, I hit the camera. Hopefully everything's kind of still there. Yeah, I don't do that too often. I guess that's a nice thing. That Ace of Pentacles in the reverse came up in the other reading too. So fascinating, 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 because that is about a door not opening and about not being willing to move forward in a particularly, but it's also, with the Sire of Pentacles here, feeling like they don't deserve what's on the other side of it. So here's somebody where you may be sitting there with that door left open like you were guided to do. You were told to keep the door open, but then don't watch to see if they're going to walk through it. And that is still advice that you are frequently getting. And here is a person who's afraid to walk through that door, not afraid to open it. Door's already open, but they're afraid to walk through it because they don't feel like they deserve what's on the other side. And it's like they've been given the guidance that they don't somehow fit there, or that there's something here that makes them like they can't, it disarms them completely. It's like kryptonite, and they're afraid they're not going to be allowed somewhere. They're afraid they aren't going to fit. They're not going to be liked. This is that fear of rejection popping up, and it's an extreme imbalance as a result of it. So they too have, and it could have happened at the same time, they too have had something pop up recently here that gives them a lot of anxiety. But it's, in this case, I think, something that they very much are expecting to feel anxiety about. They just thought that they would have a better handle on it than they do. Here with the Five of Swords in the reverse, this is a matter of winning at any cost. It's like they almost are trying to win in some way. They're trying to win something for purposes that are almost unrelated. So you may see some disconnects between what they do and what they say, because what's driving them is not necessarily connected to what they say is driving them. And there's an extreme, it feels like anxiety, a very anxious lack of balance here. Also, a lot of fear popping up. A lot of fear popping up, and a lot of memories of things. That this Queen of Cups is incredibly nostalgic, and it's a lot of love, okay, but it's memories of love, and it's memories of how you made them feel, and basically before they got their guard up, what was happening, that's popping back into their mind, and they kind of don't know what to do about it. It's part of the reason they're not walking through the door, because they're recognizing a little bit more about what that kind of feels like, what it felt like, and not necessarily feeling like they're like, do I deserve that? But they can't help but move in this direction. Same thing we saw. It was in both decks. In the other reading, we had that Fool. They're going to take a step anyway. This is somebody who's going to take a step anyway, and they're being guided very much to do so, but they're also remarkably, so I'm going to explain what all this is. I'm just saying here's what's coming out with it. But I want to explain what it is because it's got a story that's very much forming. So with the Fool card, they're definitely they've got the energy to move into something new. With the High Priestess, they're getting like messages. This is where the dreams are coming from, and coming in and telling them, go ahead, you need to move forward, you need to go ahead and encourage this change to happen. And it has more to do with the growth that they need to do more than the impact on the relationship with you, but it will also have a positive impact on the relationship with you because of what they're learning. However, when they get to you, so it feels like they're gonna it feels like they're moving in they're fighting it with everything they've got, but I think it all gives way at once, and they end up wanting to reach out to you. They all of a sudden have a moment of strength, and they want to reach out to you. Like that energy is there, the togetherness is there. It's going to upset their third party. That's an honorable mention. But and their third party could be work, could be a spouse, could be a long-term relationship, could be any combination of those things. And by upset, I mean, it may be that their spouse finds out that they have a spouse, and they find out that you guys have seen each other, which at this point you haven't, right? So, it could also be work, and something is impacted by the way that their behavior changes when they are with you, or when they talk to you, or when they interact with you. But I feel like they do talk to you or interact with you, and it has an impact on them at work or with that third party, whatever that is, that it decreases their performance because they redirect some of their energy. But with this Lover's card, they kind of can't help but do so. There's a really strong feeling around the bond between the two of you. Like it just becomes like the energy of a household name. It's just so familiar, so constant. And they've got that masculine energy of coming to get it. Like they can't help but come and get it. They feel like it's their birthright. They can't help it. There's this moment of being able to move forward. The anxiety drops, the gate drops, and they go for it. That's the kind of energy, but you got to watch out because they are not necessarily ready for this. They still have that feeling with the Six of Pentacles in the reverse that they don't know how to really give and take equally. And here with the Death card in the reverse, they are really fighting against this with everything they've got because they're very afraid of it. They're aware that there's a lot of potential in this path forward, and they're very concerned about this. So again, they've got a door they're not willing to walk through at this point because of a lot of fear, frankly, but that's the basics. They've also, like I said, they've gotten some guidance in there that's made a little bit more challenging for them to decipher what they should be doing going forward. It doesn't necessarily align with their values. But they've got a lot of strong drive. Once that feeling pops in and the gates drop, all of a sudden they have the opportunity to make a break for it. And that, I think a lot of them are going to do that. So I think our no contact group may diminish. Let's look into that a little bit when we get into the extended. Similar to the other pile, I want to look at what sort of behavior might this drive. And I've got such a strong feeling of like that gate dropping and them going for it while they have the opportunity to run between the raindrops of their emotions essentially. Let's look a little bit more into that and see what you can expect. First, we'll look into you and what you can be focused on. Before we go to the extended to look a little bit more into that. So with you, you've got the Ten of Swords in the reverse. This is about how do you reverse your own ancient pain? How do you get to that place where you are, and everyone's got it. We talked about your person's ancient pain a little bit over here, something that will have happened to them early in life or something that was associated with values that they were raised with. They were taught that this something is painful or dangerous, and they just kind of were raised with this, and they're now, they were now coming to question it. You also have something like that going on, but it's a time for you to confront it. Things are kind of wide open, and this is a great go for it sort of time. This is a go time energy, and it is also a strike while the iron is hot energy. It is do it while you can. It's very, you only live once, or you only have so many opportunities to do whatever it is that needs to be done. But it's not going to be like what you've seen in the past. So this is the Six of Cups in the reverse. Whatever it is that you are imagining based on something that's happened in the past, just be aware that you probably want to open yourself up to some other possibilities, because it doesn't look like it's going to go down that same way. All right, let's take a closer look in here. What else can you be looking at? Oh, we've got the Eight of Pentacles, and it shifted around as I was sitting there, as I was pulling it out of the deck. It was shifting from being in the reverse to being in the upright. And so what that felt like to me, it felt like it actually is something that's in progress. This is emotional self-mastery, and it's the ability to really see in yourself what needs to happen, and then go ahead and engage that, instead of, finding yourself in a position where you're frozen, or you kind of can't function, can't make things go forward. This is you finding the ability to make something go forward that you've previously been pretty concerned about your ability to do. I don't get the sense that you feel like you're ready for it, but I think it's because you haven't looked closely enough. I get the sense that you are ready for it, and that the energy it isn't that it hasn't slowed down. It's that you are subject to some of the same feeling that's happening over here, where it feels like there's a lot going on, that almost it's an inability to unclench. Like some of the energy has maybe slowed down, and this is exactly it. Some of the energy has kind of slowed down, but there's not been an opportunity to take those couple deep breaths that'll allow you to move into a place where you can process things a little bit more clearly. With the Seven of Pentacles in the reverse, there's a sense of something that hasn't been done, and it might have felt like for a long time that there was no opportunity to do it, but you've got an opportunity, and I feel like you're going to go for it. It actually helps to reduce your anxiety, whereas it might have been something that when there was an opportunity before, it threatened to really increase your anxiety. Maybe you're ready for it now. But again, it's like you felt like you weren't ready, but you just have to look a little bit closer. Queen of Swords in the reverse. So with the Queen of Swords in the reverse, this is about not making any sudden moves, not making any rash decisions. It's calm. It's looking for the source of the imbalance. We have Justice here to talk about the imbalance, but looking for the source of that imbalance a little bit more calmly and a little bit more methodically. This doesn't take away from any of the logic of the Queen of Swords. It's just kind of a calmer, slower way of investigating. With the Eight of Cups in the reverse, there is, okay, so that is telling you that you've got to get back to the lesson where you are doing some searching for what's going to make you happy. You're learning something in this that's going to impact this not tour, but search that you're on. This is really more of a quest than a tour. But it's going to impact that. What you're learning here is going to give you some new perspective that will help you understand a little bit more of how to make your dreams come true. And it feels a little bit like figuring out how to make your dreams come true without having all of the tools that one might traditionally have to manifest them. So we're going to go ahead and go over to the extended for this one as well. And this one feels heavily like we're going to be losing some folks out of the no contact group over to the in contact group with this sort of energy. But let's take a look a little bit more at like, what's the conversation about? Like if there's contact, let's jump into it. What does that mean? Because there's an opportunity for you to kind of it feels like your interaction is probably very important in this. So we'll look into that as well and kind of invite that into the answer. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into those extendeds now. The link for both is going to be down below. You can watch one, you can watch both. I look forward to seeing you there, or again tomorrow in tomorrow's reading.